after releasing episode 107 that was all about how much sleep I think is optimal for babies and toddlers, I received a lot of questions about how much sleep is optimal for, quote, older children. In fact, we get a lot of requests for episodes related to sleep for children who are 5 and up, so I'm excited to dive into this today. Also, lately I've worked with many families who have seen major transformations with their children after we increase the amount of sleep that their young child is getting each night. So today, I want to help you understand the difference between the amount of sleep your child needs to get by and be fine versus the amount of sleep they need to truly thrive. The American Academy of Pediatrics recommends that children between the age of 3 and 5 years old get 10 to 13 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period, and that children between the age of 6 and 10 years old get 9 to 12 hours of sleep in a 24-hour period. These are big ranges. And I would argue that for a lot of children, they can get by on the lower end of those ranges, but they will thrive on the higher end of those ranges. So let me elaborate. Let's divide this into two groups for this conversation. We're going to stick with that range that they're talking about, the 3 to 5-year-old group, and then the 6 to 10-year-old group. When I work with kids who are in the age range of 3 to 5 years old, I like to target 11 to 13 hours of total sleep in a 24-hour period versus the 10 to 13 recommended. A child between 3 and 5 years old may still be napping, or they may have dropped the nap. For a child who is still napping, I target 10 and a half to 12 hours of sleep at night and an hour to an hour and a half nap. For a child who is no longer napping, I target 11 plus hours of sleep at night. Now, I suspect that you know children who do not get this much sleep, and they may appear to be struggling, hello, three-nagers, or they may appear to be just fine. But I always like to figure out if they are getting the amount of sleep that allows them to truly thrive. Sleep is so incredibly powerful, and I think we've made big strides in the last decade, particularly the last 5 years, about understanding what a critical role sleep plays in our health and well-being. And as it relates to children, studies clearly show that getting the optimal amount of sleep improves a child's impulse control, emotional regulation, and learning retention. What parent doesn't want their child to thrive in these three areas? So for this age group, I think monitoring impulse control and emotional regulation can really help us know if our children are getting enough sleep to thrive. If, for example, you're getting reports from school that your child is hitting, biting, or struggling to follow instructions, it's definitely possible that they could benefit from more sleep, which would then allow them to have improved impulse control, therefore less hitting, less biting, more following instructions. If you have a child who is very emotional or throwing a lot of tantrums, sure, this is age appropriate between 3 and 5, but it's also possible that they could benefit from more sleep, and you would see reduced number of tantrums. Children between the age of 3 and 5 are going to have big feelings, and they are going to throw some tantrums. But it's also very possible that they could benefit from more sleep, that with more sleep, the emotions would be a little less intense. There would be fewer tantrums. If you have a child in this age group who is struggling with particularly intense separation anxiety or just anxiety in general, more sleep can help. Just think about it. If you're someone who's experienced anxiety, I am one of those people. If you get overtired, the anxiety increases. And I have to remind myself all the time when I'm having a very anxious moment or period or day, I have to usually remind myself, this is because we just went on a big exhausting trip, or you stayed up really late, or you started your day at 4 a.m. And it's easy for me to do. Actually, I wouldn't say it's easy. It's something that I've taught myself to do, but it's not a skill that our young kids have. And sleep can really help reduce the intensity of separation anxiety and just general anxiety.